Hey, this is Brandon with RPG Overviews, and in this video I'm going to be looking at Elfking The Immortal Role-Playing Game, the core rulebook. It's by Lucid Eye Publications. This is available on Amazon. I'll have a link down in the description. You can see on the right side of the screen there you've got a light aspect version and a dark aspect version of the cover. So I have a link for both of those. And this is a very interesting role-playing game. There's a lot to say about it, and I'll probably butcher some stuff about it, but I'm gonna give it my best. Uh, this is definitely an interesting read. It has AI-generated art, which is very cohesive, and it looks very good. It actually kind of fooled me. I wasn't 100% sure it was, or wasn't, until I looked at the introduction and emailed them back and just wanted to double check. This is AI-generated art, but it is very good. You can see on the dark aspect compared to the light one, where the dark one is not as clear focused, or it's just a little different, but I really like the dark art one. So you got a little bit of a choice there between the light aspect and the dark aspect of it. And I've seen pictures of the book on Amazon, and it looks cool. So there's that. Yeah, this is going to be a challenging video, and they always are. If you don't know my videos, I do these pretty much one take and just go through the book and try to do my best and explain it as much as I can. I might make some errors here and there, so please forgive me. I may mispronounce some stuff. So let's just jump right into it. So for starters, I think the art looks great. I thought it was like Brahm. I don't know if one of their prompts was Brahm, because it has that very much that kind of muscly, sinewy, thin look to the art. But it's very, very fitting, and it definitely, I believe, gives you the impression of what their vision is of this game. So here's another piece of art here. I think it looks good. I mean, that's AI generated. It says that it's AI generated and they tweaked it some, and it's just really cool. So there's that. So here's the table of contents, and we got a lot of stuff there. There is a scenario in the back, so that's pretty cool to help you get involved in the game. It's a very short one. This piece of art here I think is fantastic, and it just, to me, it shows you where AI generated art is going. This is a prime example of having a vision of something AI generated art able to, I believe, deliver on what it looks like. So yes, you are playing elves, elf king elves in this game, and it's very much for those that might know Elric, and the world is very interesting. It has its own system that uses D10s, a lot of D10s. I'm going to tell you that now. I'll go through the system, try to explain it as much as I can. They have some interesting names for stuff that I think are really well done. It says, within the Elfking RPG, we introduced the concept of the real realm, a place which encompasses every aspect of existence. It's written very well. It's very kind of self-aware that it's a role-playing game. It'll often reference it as being a game or other games, but doesn't say them by name. So it's definitely kind of speaking towards you, like at you, without being kind of stupid or vulgar or anything like that. It's very elegant, I believe, in the way it's written. And that may actually at times be somewhat of a drawback I found while I was reading through this. So here's an introduction here. These two sections are both very well done. Going to tell you what is a role-playing game. I'm just going to tell you about the world. Now, I'm going to probably mispronounce stuff, so I apologize for those that created this. I'm going to say the lands of Iaz. Not sure if that is, but we'll say what that is. So there's a map right here. And now this map is, I first look at it and I'm like, what is all this stuff? Is that a town? Is that a city? Here they pretty much explain, this is a world that doesn't have taverns. It doesn't have shops that you can go buy stuff. I almost see this world as being your own, something you create. Some might call that maybe a bit of a cop-out, and maybe they'll do another video that has more information on the world that they envision, but they want it to kind of be yours. It obviously takes inspiration from Northern Europe and mystical kind of places like Thule and Avalon and things like that. There are mortal races. There are also trolls. They're also the Pale Witches. And I do like I said, I do like the names of a lot of this stuff that they've come up with. They've done a great job at giving this place obviously inspired by stuff like Elric, but its own kind of feel in the role-playing game spaces that are out there. You are playing immortal elves that do not die. But some people may not like this. They may not like the fact that you have to kind of create everything. What does this mean? What is this place? What is it like? So that's one thing about it. So here to explain about the elves. The elves are 7 feet tall. They are lithe, they're graceful, they're akin to a dreamlike vision made manifest. Their faces are long and slender, describing an ethereal beauty. They can not die through age. They can die through violence or any other type of extreme effect that might happen to them. And you are playing someone that an elf, if you play an elf, because you could play one of the other races as well, that has always been. And there are no elf children. And so you have kind of awakened, born anew, and they have wandered from the path of a dire quest upon a whim. Such is the nature of the Fae. So it's interesting that they have always been, and now you're doing something. It's going to be interesting for some players to get their heads around that concept. But they do have a lot of issues, obviously, with the mortal races, with their dreaded iron that does terrible damage to elves, and of course the trolls. This is another great piece of art here. I mean, every single piece of art I saw, I think I enjoy. I think this looks great. And again, it's showing you this world that it's kind of like they tell you about it, and then you kind of envision it yourself. I see this kind of like raw nature place. These lands, they don't have towns and cities. They're dark. The forests are dark. There is just a brooding sense of not evil, but just danger and mystery about the world. And then far, far away, maybe you'll come across some scene like this. And who dwells there? I don't know. We don't know. Should we go and try to get to that place? Man, I think we should. There's no shops to buy stuff. There's no taverns to chill out and spend the night. The only way to really do and to live is to be a part of thanes, pretty much. Kind of like feudal lords over an area of people that group together, and you might be a companion of them. And here is the Fey Revanche, which is, of course, it talks here that the place is not a place of peace or safety. It's riven with strife throughout and within, a myriad of bonds and vendettas, of deceptions and betrayals, of seething rivalries and open warfare, all serve to plague Iaz to the brink of extinction. These elves have constant civil wars against each other, these groups of people backed by thanes and served by, you serve under a thane. They wage wars and deception against one another, all the while trying to fight against the mortal races, trolls, and the forces of hell. So just right there, I mean, it sounds really great. It seems something that I think a lot of people could get into. This could be a game where they have given you kind of what you need to create something that's really your own. If you like this type of kind of dark fantasy world, and really expand on it, almost like a meta plot that's going on that you would see like in a World of Darkness type game that you could build off of. Because the only way to really survive and to do anything is through these thanes and this power struggle that's going on and being a part of one of them. So that's an interesting aspect of it. And then here we've got playing an elf character. Again, great art. So it's going to explain a lot about how they are, obviously. And again, you'll see here, as with all RPGs, this is somewhat inevitable. But so it has that, it says, but with the Elf King RPG, it definitely is self-aware of what it is. It says, we have endeavored to imbue the Elf King RPG with as much flavor as possible whilst maintaining simplicity of gameplay. Any game of reasonable length will undoubtedly acquire a certain amount of granularity along the way, but we have attempted to find the simplest of solutions to knotty problems as we have encountered them by using variations upon a universal mechanic at the core of the design. So that right there just shows you how it says we a lot, we did this, we've created this. And that's a little different, it's just a little different than how it's written. So notes for gameplay on the Game Master. This is a very good section. There is no real good and evil. There's a bit of a section thing here about religion, the setting. And then we've got part 1, game terms, time, and the resolution method. So this terminology here, I have a bit of a disconnect with the book just on its layout aspect. So the way that words and stuff. So there's just nothing there's some art in the background, it's kind of thrown back there, back, in the background. But I could use bigger fonts here and there. I could use bold words, stuff that's in brackets, stuff that's in boxes. It's it tells you a lot of stuff in paragraphs, and in those paragraphs, at times you have to go and kind of read it and figure out exactly, pull out the meat of what they're trying to say. Occasionally, there are some words that are bold, not bold, they're capitalized, the word, and they do tell you that that is an important thing. So here's some terminology for the game, and they call hit points lifeblood. There's a thing called glamour. It's in essence a universal term for magic. You have the pale witches. They use hexes. You have glamour points. They fuel Rud magic and spells. I believe that's how you say it. RHUD. You've got certain virtues. Of course, I'll be talking about that. Here are your characteristics, and here's some more. So you can see I won't say it's wasted space. It's just you could use a different. I screened out occasionally for some things that I just wanted to make pop, and they didn't. So vendettas are a big deal in the game. A formalized targeted hatred of an enemy which is acted upon. You have bonds, a solemn agreement between individuals, often between companion and thane. These are big, big aspects in this game. Then you have a thing called glare. It's the Fey word for fame, and you have seals, silver seals, but they're secondary to glare, to fame. That's what means everything to these elves, is to be immortalized, since they are immortal, in great books of heroic deeds and actions. So to me, it almost has that bit of that Norse type of belief of dying a good death or having a great heroic history about yourself. That is what is important, and that is what you're going to be trying to get as you are traversing this world as a Elf King elf. So we'll continue here. You can see there's a bit more, some more of the art. Again, great pieces there. Then they've got some stuff about measurement of time, distance, and the year. All this is very smart, very well done. You have the watch, and I really like the watch. So instead of keeping track of stuff, you're going to have divisions of mornings or evenings and stuff like that. The passage of a single day during a saga, therefore, is divided into 6 parts: dawn, morning, noon, dusk, starlight, and deep light. So each one of those is going to be a watch of 4 hours in duration. And that's going to help you kind of segment that day. It could be that something's going to last as long as a watch, or until 2 watches. So I think that's very interesting. I like that a lot. Here's some explanations here about scenes and encounters involving stuff such as the watch. And then we're going to break into the basic rule of this game. Now, I'm not a big math guy. I don't know how some stuff works probability-wise. I just kind of go with it. And I I assume that people have done the same. So this is how this game works. You're going to use D10s, and a lot of D10s. And you're going to see up there in the top right difficulty factor. So let's say I have 8 dice for something I'm rolling. It could be an attribute and a skill or something like that. I'm going to roll those 8 dice. And I'm looking for 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, 7 or higher. Well, the game master will also be rolling a certain amount of dice based off the difficulty. Let's say it's routine. They're going to be rolling 6 dice, 60, 10. And they're looking for the same thing, 7, 8s, 9s, 10s. So whoever gets the most, 7, 8s, 9s, or 10s, they succeed. But you also have critical successes, and those are 10s. They don't give you any more successes, they just go against other critical successes. So in the example, the character's dice rolls results in 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 6, 8, 9, 9, and a 10. That's 3 successes and a critical success, making 4 in total, because we have the 8, 9, 9, and 10. However, the game master rolls the opposing roll of 10 dice, the result of which is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and then 7, 9, 0, 0. They got 4, but 2 of them are critical successes, so in essence, that character, failed. That's how the game works, and that's how it works for everything in the game. So as you can see in the difficulty factor, you've got 10d10, 12d10, unlikely is 16 D10. Improbable is 20 D10. So you're going to want to get some D10s if you play this game, obviously. Overall, I don't know exactly the mathematics behind this system and how it works, but it seems pretty simple. And it's a dice pool game, and many people have played those, so it's interesting. And it's going to explain here, what's going to happen in a tie. Round up is just going to be normal rounding. Some things will tell you about rounding, whether or not you round up or down. But if you need to round, it's just normal rounding. There's no anything weird. And then you see the core rule: roll of d10s, 7+ successes, 10s equal critical successes. There's some stuff here on cumulative effects, and here's that note on the use of higher case words that let you know that they are important. They are relative importance of a term or statement. Part 2, character creation, skills, and lore. So you're going to create your character, and you're going to have these 6 virtues: might, finesse, reason, will, essence, and elan. Elan's going to be pretty much like your charisma and personal magnetism. So you have a couple ways of doing that. You can either roll 9 dice and discard the lowest 3 results and assign each result to a virtue of the player's choice. So if you roll up, and let's say you get a 6 and an 8, you're going to put those someplace, like your might's going to be 8. So when you roll might, you're rolling 8d10. And it's using that kind of difficulty setting. So you'll either, the difficulty factor, so you'll either be rolling that against that difficulty, or there'll already be a set, like if you're going to get somebody, what their might is, in essence. They have another way for doing it, rolling 12 dice and discarding the lowest 6 result. That'll probably give you stronger characters. And then increasing virtues. A score of 10 is the usual maximum for beginning characters. For each virtue, it is possible and likely for a character who survives any length of time to increase these values. And they'll describe more. It's going to tell you what happens should your virtues go down. You're going to come up with your name, your status. This is a catch-all place for describing the character in a world or two. Fate companion, troll thrall, stuff like that. As an example, elite companion of Thane Fane, and the Circle of 5 Falls. So it give yourself a kind of a flamboyant name there. And then you've got glare. Your glare is going to be very low starting out. It's going to explain a lot about that. And so all characters begin with a glare value equal to their elan rating. It says, alternatively, for the sake of character equity, GMs may prefer to rule that all characters belong with 10 glare instead, or even a character's elan rating plus 10. And then it's going to show you what examples of different glares would be for like a superhero, demigod, godhood, whatever the case may be. You've got lifeblood and hit points here. They're going to explain those. Magical defense and physical defense. Magical is based off your will, and physical defense is going to be based off of your might. So one thing about life points is, and I will let you know that there are some typos here and there. They do have on their website, which I'll probably link that as well, they do have some errata, but like right there, life is LIF blood. Should be LIFE blood, but it's all well and good. There is one thing that I found where it doesn't really tell you how much hit points you restore when you rest. I did find something, an example of how much it does in a spell later on in the book. So it needs some tightening. The book needs some tightening of just overall information delivery to you. As you can see, you've got these paragraphs, and I would like to have sections that either give you kind of like a complete, I'd love to have like a complete example of a character being created, or a worksheet that you could go through that kind of explains this is what all this is and how to make this character. Glamour points are going to be your essence score. And that, of course, is what you do with magic. Explain about the red magic. A crest is, of course, some sort of design for you. Bonds you may have with other characters, NPCs or PCs, and then what vendettas you may have. Focus is, in essence, kind of like your morale. Bloodlust is involved with trolls and mortals, in which they become overcome with bloodlust. You have 2 types of kind of skills. You have skills, which are inherent abilities, which everybody has, and you have lores, which are specific areas of expertise. Now, I do like the way that they say what lores are, and I'll show you that. You've got the silver seal for buying stuff. Again, it's not as important as getting glare, equipment, starting equipment that you may start off with, and then some more information here about completing your character, weaponry, and stuff like that. Again, more great art. Talking to you about trolls and mortal characters, creating characters with previous experience, and then you've gotten into the skills and lore section here, how to make a skills test. And it's going to be, as we see here, like perception is going to be your reason and your will added together and divided by 2. That's going to give your perception. And that's how many dice you'll roll when you're trying to make a perception test. And so that's very helpful, as you can see. So it's going to explain those here: persuasion, maneuver, conceal, and deception. Everybody has these 5 skills. And then it's going to tell you more about skill or lore. Horses are not common throughout the lands of Iz. Whilst horses are not unknown to the Fae, you have this thing called the Thimblewinter, especially as a deterrent to such fauna. And whilst there remains wolves, deer, bears, and boars, these are those types that have adapted the constant sorceress cold in some way. This also kind of reminds me of Fire and Ice, the movie Fire and Ice, the animated movie. Definitely has a feel of that as well, with this cold, the elves, and stuff like that. And then you've got the lores. So it's going to be, your lores are going to be in the beginning, they're going to be very low. So your basic beginning lore values differ from skills and stuff, from the calculations in which their skills are halved. So they explain in the example here that you're going to take like your might, your finesse, your reason scores, and then you're going to add them together, divide them. You're going to get a certain amount. Divide this total by 3. It's going to give you a 7.3. You drop the fractions, give you a 7. But because all beginning lore levels are always halved, the actual ability of lore's total is halved again. So it goes to 3.5, which you knock that fraction down, it's going to be 3. You're going to be rolling 3d10 to do the lore that they've chosen, that they have. The lore of the sea and stars is what it's called. And just that name of the lores, I think, is elegant. It's cool. I enjoy that. You have rules for if you're unfamiliar with the type of lore. There's a lot of unfamiliar and familiarity. And then, of course, you might get some small increases in it. There's a lot of competence and mastery of stuff in this game. So that's something. Another great piece of art. I can definitely tell that this one's AI generated because I've made some myself. It kind of has that kind of look. But again, I think it fits with the game. So you have wilderness lore, the lore of beasts, and again, big write-ups about these sections explain, them to you, and I think that's very helpful. Lore of glamours, of course, with magics, troll lore, fae lore, the lore of the mortal races, the lore of the infernal realms, the lore of the beyond. Great piece of art right there. I absolutely love that one. The lore of scripts and chronicles, spoken fae, written fae, spoken high fae, which spoken, I believe, written high fae is where a lot of your glamours are going to be. In order to scribe glamours, your magics, you're going to need that written high fae. Spoken Danic, I guess it's called, written Danic, the lore of the crafting and making, the lore of the sea and the stars. To me, this almost has a very much of like almost a Tolkien type aspect to it. The lore of things that grow, I just love that one, and it's got some examples of some stuff and how what you can grow and the effects that they provide. Very cool section right there, very big too. And then a little bit of some fiction right there. Part 3, combat, telling you about the division of time segments, using miniatures and visual aids. You can see great art. Engagement zones, pretty normal here. Some creatures are going to be pretty big. A lot of trolls and stuff like that. It's going to explain that to you, how big that would be. And then you've got the anatomy of a combat round. You're going to have a commune preparation phase where you might be able to talk or prepare something. Magic effects, movement, road magic and missile resolution, melee attack resolution, and then you have a bookkeeping phase, and then you return to phase 1. And they're going to explain each one of these different phases. A lot of this is not very hard to figure out how it's done. And a lot of times it's going to be where how much you roll over the defense or whatever it is you're going up against, that's how much damage that your foe will take. Again, great piece of art here. Talking about melee attack procedures. And this is a section here I would just like to have examples. Give me examples. I need examples of all this stuff. It's a different system. People might not really understand it very well. Give me some more examples of all this stuff. Make the book just a little bit bigger and kind of fill it with some stuff that is going to help people understand how this works. And this is going to be, these two pages right here. I really had to look them over. Okay, so what you've got is you've got minimum virtues. So if you have you're using your fist, okay, your minimum might is a 1 and your optimal might is a 6, it says. So, and then it's got minimum finesse and optimal finesse. And then you have, it says number attack, but that's a number of attack dice. That's one thing that I would probably write in that block as well. So you're gonna roll 2 dice whenever you hit with a fist, and you can see obviously it goes up with more. It's not the number of attacks. So like a dagger is going to be 4, and so uh, if you go beyond 6, you can see the next little table down there below. Bonus dice for virtues exceeding optimal values. If you have a higher might and finesse than for a fist in you're going to go down and look, and is it 1 or 3 more higher, you're going to get a bonus die. So let's say you have a 7 in both your might and your finesse. You're going to look at that next table, 1 to 3, you get 1 more bonus die. So you can see how it goes up pretty drastically. If you have 26 plus, higher than the optimal, you're going to be rolling 5 more dice on your fist. So everybody else is going to be doing pretty much 2 dice. And then other weapons will do more. Obviously, they require higher minimum mights and finesses. All right, so that's a big deal. Like your minimum might for a 2-handed axe is 10. If you have less than that, then you're going to take penalties based off that on your dice rolls. So that's how it works. It's not confusing. It is there. You need to read this section very, very well to understand exactly what they're doing. Again, an example would be very helpful. It's the same for missile weapons, except you're going to use the same might and finesse. You've got, of course, ranges, and then you've got armor, and armor is only going to be for might, and it's going to give you the number of protection dice. Same thing. You protect with 2 dice if you have no armor. If you have leather, you're going to have 3, so on and so forth. Plate gives you 8. And of course, you can get more based off of bonus dice if you are above the optimal virtue. So these 2 sections you need to read very well. And then here's a whole bunch of other stuff involved with combat. Quartering, burdened, using 2-handed weapons single-handedly, improvised weapons, asphyxiation, fire, all those type of extra things that might kill you or mess you up. And then here's a whole section here on iron, which is absolutely the bane of these Fae, which of course I love that. You, in essence, do not get to heal, as it will continue to be an open weeping sore and a constant irritation. So a lot of the mortal races use those, so that is a huge detriment in order to take them down. So glamours and the monstrous entities. It's going to explain here about magics and mortal spell casting. And then it uses this minimum, your will minimum and your will optimal to give you these bonus dice. That's how it all works. Tells you about the nature of magical texts. There's a lot of things about how you get spells. Anybody can get them. You just have to, in essence, find them in the world. And if you have the high strong will, then you can write them down. Whenever when you find a script, you write it down, the original gets destroyed, and then you're able to, you'll hopefully be able to absorb that information to your head in order for you to cast these spells. Some more information here about, some of the world building stuff that's in the game when it comes to spell casting. And then you have the point cost of glamours, and that's going to involve your essence, points that you're going to use in order to cast these spells. We've got, and this is the list of spells here. And again, this could be another section, I think, with some bold words here and there to help some of this stuff really pop. There's a whole slew of different type of spells in the Fae glamours. I'm not going to go through all of them, but a lot of them are pretty interesting, pretty strong. There's not a huge amount of them, but I think it's a good amount. Here's an Impling, is a 2-tall-foot creature imp. You can create one. It requires 1 to 10 watches of concentration. Again, so that tells you about the watches, how long it may make. Interruptions will require a restart, and it has some, some material requirements sometimes. Some things you have to have. The ritual involves a bronze-heated cauldron with a previously I guess it's shrived or shrived sanctum. So stuff like that, filled with the fats, a tag lock of the caster of some sort, a personal trinket. So it's definitely building up this magic to be much more than just a couple of words and then you cast a spell. And then again, you can see on the right, there's a bit of some fiction there. So some great spells here. So I'm not going to go through all of them. Then you have troll curses that might happen. They will try to curse you, of course. Here's some of their stuff that they use, which are pretty nasty. Then you have the pale hexes from the pale witches. A lot of them are poxes and curses and stuff like that as well. So those are pretty nasty. Again, great art. Definitely goes with it. There's dark glamours. These are gifts from the unspoken, the Hell King. So these are more of from the allegiance of to the Infer. Um, they're always come to the attention of dark powers sooner or later if you use them. So these are kind of nasty spells, I guess I should say. But pretty cool. So again, some great stuff here. I like the way that it looks in the background. Some more fiction, telling you more about the lords, and giving you some, like here's an example of this Virtual Golden Hand. Of course, his stats are outrageous, Might of 32. I mean, that's just amazing how much glare he has. And then it's going to talk about some swords and stuff like that. If you look through the characters now, of course, I'll be telling about that. A typical companion. And then you got your entities. Now, the art in these are great. They're in the background. I wish they were a little bit bolder, but there's a good write-up for each one of them. They've got cool names. There's a lot of, I would say, ethereal type of undead or souls, things like that. Very powerful. But you can see the art in the background. There's the Bitter Lag, the Broken, the Dark Globe, Green Eyes, Vampus. A Vampus is an Elf King vampire, obviously. The Iron Render, whatever that's called. Whipperline, the Death Vine, looks great. Definitely AI, art right there. I can tell that one, but it works. Bellhound, the Feyhounds, Husks and Plukes, Draw Things, the Hollow Fey. These are really cool. You read that all about them. Very strong. It says, much may befall immortal Fey following their demise in the haste of a violent death. May not be thought the worst of such ends. And that's when you become a hollow Fey is much worse. The sorrow, I guess that's Spritin, Skunker, the Unborn, the Vaunt. So again, you can see their stats are very low. It's a wizened husk, almost like an empty vessel, through though such a physical manifestation of existence. They're one of the countless lost and damned who inhabit the infernal realm. So obviously you're dealing with that hell aspect of it. And then this awesome piece of art here for the Great Worm. Huge stats. I hope you have 100 dice to roll up its will or its might of 240. I mean, I don't know how you really do that. So that kind of goes off the rails there. Normal animals as well that you may fight. We've come across artifacts and gameplay. Telling you how to make some, talking about the difference between permanence and impermanence, items that maybe just have one use and then they're done. There's these essence crystals that hold glamour points for you to be able to cast spells. Of course, I'm going over a lot of stuff here, but there's a lot of neat things in there. Star metal, enchanted weapons and armor, crafting, preparing metal. So it's got all this stuff here. And then you've got permanent enchantment procedure should you want to make your weapon and stuff. Permanent artifacts, and I guess that's the id of the weapon. So you have, in essence, weapons, as an example, that could be an powerful artifact that has its own goals. Here's an example of an artifact possessed of id. Typhane, the Edge of Woe, great piece of art. It's a hellmetal longsword. It shows you how much id it has. If you have a certain, it says the user who possesses an elan of 12, a score of 12, may also attempt to gain access to Typhane's special abilities by mastering Typhane's id. You in essence have to kind of take over the weapon. Following a successful elan test against Typhane's id of 12, failure means that the user must wait until the point whereby they gain at least an extra point of their elan score to be able to use their special abilities. So it's kind of like you're unlocking these abilities should you attune yourself to these weapons. So upon the success, they may use Typhane's further powers, namely an embedded Hell Crystal and Essence Crystal with 8 rechargeable Essence points, as well as continuous Hell Glamour of Hell Fear. Costs no points, emanates fear whilst wielding blade, so that assailants must first successfully test their will against the wielder's will and edge in order to engage. But it has a drawback. Access to these further powers also brings with it an instant and automatic vendetta against the Thane of the Lost Circle of the Old Finns, whoever and whatever that may be. So it's again a thing where you have to kind of create this. And this is just an example of a weapon, but letting you see that there is going to be some drawbacks to this weapon. I think it's a really strong aspect of the game. It's really cool to have these weapons be powerful, unlock them, and then, it might draw the attention of somebody that you don't want. Telling you about bloodlust that affects the mortals and the trolls. And then all about glare, how to gain glare. It's the most important focus, the major focus of the RPG. This is the real currency of the game. It says, in order to get your names in the books, you have to have a high glare and do great deeds. That's how you're going to stand out in a world full of immortals. Telling you about vendettas, they're a big, powerful thing in the game. There is some example here of the severity of a 3. So what it says is, so a severity of 3 will endow 3 extra attack dice to the Oath Taker when confronting their enemy at sword point. But get this, they'll suffer 3 less dice for every test they make, up into the point where the vendetta is no longer in force. Brutal. So you are truly wanting to seek them out and claim whatever vendetta you have against them. You have bonds that you're going to have between companion and thane, benefits of bondings for your companion, and there's also some other voluntary bonds that you can do as well. So a very big aspect of it, because you have to stay together, be underneath the servitude of a thane, do great deeds for them, and then hopefully make your name in the world. How to improve your virtues. It almost has a system that's kind of like Call of Cthulhu, the old Call of Cthulhu. I don't know about the newest edition, where you roll dice at the end if you've done something, and it may give you an increase should you make that roll. You said, hey, I did that, so I got to make this roll to hopefully be able to increase that. So it's very interesting. Here's some fiction. Fey hospitality is interesting. No matter the status of or current political climates in the lands of Iz, a guest is still a guest within the Fey realm. As such, each is entitled to respect, and a Fey Lord is duty-bound to offer Fey hospitality to them. Even the Heralds of Hell are entitled to safe passage within the domain of an elf, at least for a time. The Fey are not naive, however, and they are often cunning. Many are the tales of betrayals on both sides, host and guest, though these are notable events rather than the rule. Great art again right there. Circles and Thanes, talking to you more about this, companion thralls and bondlings, becoming a Thane, challenging a Thane. And then there's the Red Book Project. It tells you here that they have a thing where you can, in essence, your character can be part of this glorious Red Book of Aeons. So very interesting. You have this optional character background. It says optional random character background table, if I can get that out right. You roll a d100 and you may get some sort of bonus. Says if players so choose, they may roll once upon the following table. It can give you a stat increase. Of course, it can give you with a vendetta. It can give you for a talent for the magic or extra focus. More tougher skin. You're familiar with a certain lore. I would definitely use these just to make my character kind of stand out a little bit. But there's that. And then here's the scenario. This scenario is very quick, very easy. You're in essence trying to clear out, your Thane wants you to clear out a group of mortals. And so you're going to go, because they've been camping at this place by the river. It's an abandoned outpost called the Pine Tree Arbor. And you're going to try to clear them out. You get down there and you don't find any mortals. Instead, you find these terrible flayed ones that are going to be undead, horrible creatures. They don't use weapons. They're going to try to lick you, which have got some flickering tongues dripping with corrosive fluids. That's not good. You don't want them licking you. Don't let them do that. And then you're going to find the Greyling Layat, the Eater of Skins, a great boss that you're going to have to fight as well, who's very nasty. So it's good that they put in a very short scenario there. Here's a little aftermath here telling you about some stuff of the adventure, what you might get. Epilogue here, telling you about what's to come with the book. They're going to have a full campaign of episodic sagas, complete with treachery and malice, bonds and vendettas, world-shattering artifacts, and failed glamours, all for the greater glare of glorious Thanes. Hopefully this book will come out, and if this is successful, they'll put out some more books. Here's the credits here. Steve and Joe are the ones who created this. And they also, on their website, they also have some, I believe maybe they started, I'm not 100% sure, they started making miniatures. So they have miniatures of a lot of this stuff as well, if you like miniatures for your game. Very serviceable character sheet here. I'd like for some stuff to be a little bit bigger, like this. Some of these words in the middle there are a little bit small to read. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older or whatever. But a very serviceable character sheet right there. There's your glamorous possessions and your history. And that is it. I'm going to go back to this, the epilogue, since that's what we're in right here. So what are my overall views of it? I think it's cool. I think it's neat. I love the world that they're trying to make. I like the aspect of playing these immortal elves. it's got some cool stuff when it comes to the system. I'd like to see how the system works. I like rolling d10s. Pull systems are easy for people, especially new players. You just tell them, hey, look for 7s and higher. Making an artifact or weapons and stuff that have these cool abilities that you can unlock based off how your character is, and how good their stats are, I think is neat. I love the world that they're trying to give you kind of the skeleton of. I would love to see that skeleton given flesh, of course. I think the art looks good, even though, you know, and it is AI generated. To me, I have no problem with AI generated art. This is the future, and it's only getting better. And this is a cohesive art style that fooled me at first, and I think it's really good. I would like to see just more of everything. You know how it is if you watch my videos. I want to see more of everything. I want to see what more cities look like, and someone on thrones, and what thanes, and, you know, just stuff like that. I want to see a lot more of that stuff. The only things that I see that, you know, it just needs another pass probably on some editing and stuff like that. That's just for me. Layout and things like that. A lot of stuff is in paragraphs. I'd like to see stuff really explode out on the page here and there in blocks, and, you know, you got some sections that are kind of just a little bit bolder and bigger, and kind of, you know, highlight sections. Use that bold, you know, copy, you know, highlight and hit bold on some stuff. Let it really pop, or give me some sort of checklist on how to make a character, or, you know, like for combat, really break down examples. Give me more examples of everything. But I think that it's going to make it not just seem like a whole bunch of paragraphs, and within those paragraphs is the information you're trying to get and pull out of it, so you can know how to play this game. I'm always with examples. That's just all there is to me, especially when you've got a new system that people may not understand 100%. So there it is. I cannot scroll. I can keep on scrolling back up to the front. You can see a couple of great pieces. And that's a good, that's a good picture there. You know, piece of art showing you maybe a Thane's, you know, chair there, throne room. It looks good. I like it. Just a couple little tweaks here and there to some of the layout, and I would have been just really, really, you know, impressed by what they've been able to create with this game. You know, to me, it's completely come out of nowhere. I was very happy when they approached me to take a look at the game, and when I finally got it, I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. I'd like to see how it plays. If you've ever played this game or know anything more about it, if you looked into it, let me know what your thoughts are of it. Again, I'll have a link down in the description to the Amazon links, so you can pick up the physical version, and then I believe I'll have a link to their website. You can go there, and they will send you a PDF should you have bought it. I believe that's correct, but don't hold me to that. So yeah, great piece of art there. There it is. There is Elfking. I love that one. I think that's fantastic. I actually like to see that guy on the cover. So yeah, Elfking, the Immortal RPG. There it is. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Please let your friends know about it. Share it. Like the video if you like the video. And then let me know what you think about this game. Just in this video, what your first impressions of it are. After watching this lengthy video, which again, I appreciate that a bunch. And there it is, Elfking. Hopefully we'll see a lot more from this game. It's doing something kind of special. I think that a lot of people will gravitate towards. So there it is. Thanks a lot.